So I'm here at this beach. I come to these beaches a lot, just north of Cairns area. As you can see, it's beautiful views. It's almost sunset, which sunset is kind of a little unfortunate here because the mountains block all the light, but we still are able to get some color in the sky, so I'm not too worried about that. But it's a high tide. When I came here before, the rocks were all exposed and the trees were by the rocks, but today all these little trees are in the water. So I think that might make for a pretty interesting image. So what I'm looking for is actually I found already what I'm going to photograph. It's this tree right over there, that big one. I think I should be able to set up my tripod with the wide angle lens, and I'll be able to get the tree right in between those two rocks and the mountains in the way far off distance in the background. I don't want these mountains in the background because they'll just be a little bit distracting. And it'll look strange because there'll be no leading line going into the mountains. So this is going to be a pretty simplistic image, and I'll want to put the tree just a little bit on the left of the frame because I don't think I'll be able to get it square in the middle just because there's this other tree in the front here. So yeah, about a half an hour, maybe less, until sunset, and there's some nice clouds, so I'm hoping the clouds will light up really well. So now I'm going to get all set up and then just wait. Fur ball, my external mic, the Rode Video Micro, but it's got the little dead cat on top to help with the wind noise, and sometimes, as you can see, it gets in the frame and it annoys the heck out of me. I need to figure out a way to kind of keep it up, so sorry about all that. So I've got the camera set here. What I'm going to do is I'm shooting at 24mm. I'm using the Nikon 10-24 DX lens on my crop sensor camera. So the 24mm will be approximately 36mm. I do have a bit of a challenge because the tripod legs are sticking in the sand. So when the water comes, it could cause it to sink. And as I'm going to do a long exposure later, it's yeah, it might make it a little bit shaky. But I'll have to see, or maybe I'll adjust a bit to find some rocks to set it on, because there's a bunch of rocks down there. But so far I took some test images and it's looking good. I might have to do a little bit of exposure blending in Photoshop, because the tree is going to be very dark when the sky lights up. But we'll see. But yeah, it's a nice, very simple scene. This dang thing. Ugh. So I'm going to be using the Hoya Pro ND 10-stop filter. It's just a screw-on filter. I've used it a couple times and I actually pretty like it. It's not as good as the rectangular filters in my opinion. Actually, I've never used the rectangular filters, so I don't know. But it's just kind of hard because you got to count for the exposure first and then screw it on and then take it off, and you always have to guess on the exposure, so it's a bit challenging at times. So right now I'm at f8 1/100th of a second, ISO 100. So I'm just going to screw this on. And there's still a lot of light, so I might not have to use my shutter release, but I do have it. And I did find some rocks to put the tripod on, so hopefully it won't sink down in the sand. So let's see here. Yeah, with the filter, it's just saying a 6-second exposure. So let's give it a shot. I'll make it a little bit brighter though, so I'll go 10 seconds. Whew. I might get a little wet. Again, just a very basic composition. All right, it's done. Let's see. Oh, wow. Looks pretty good. It is a bit windy, so there is some motion blur in the tree. So I might take a picture to freeze the action at a faster shutter speed so I can combine them later. Well, I kind of don't mind having the motion blur in the tree. It makes it a little more artistic. Oh, I guess the whole picture wasn't sharp, that's why. Not just motion blur. So let's try it again. All right, we'll try it again. F8, ISO 100, 10-second exposure. I always use a 2-second timer just to reduce the camera shake, but these waves probably aren't helping with camera shake at all. But in order for me to line up my composition, I've got to have the tripod in the water. All right, let's see. That one looks a lot better. Now I guess I'll just wait until the sun goes down and we get some color in the sky. You might be wondering why I'm just taking a picture of a tree in the water when I have all these mountains in the background. Well, I'll tell you. So, I've been to this spot probably 4 or 5 times already, trying to get some sort of picture with the mountains, but just the way it is with the curve of the beach and the water, it's just been so hard for me to find a good composition. I've got a couple decent photos with it, but nothing that I'm really happy about. See, a lot of times the scenes that are the most beautiful sometimes just don't take good pictures. It's just having the pleasing composition in one image, but when you're at the scene it's beautiful because you can look around and admire the whole thing and really admire just being a part of the scene. We've got the moon out tonight too. Tripod's getting a little wet. Hopefully it stays and doesn't fall in the water. And another thing that's pretty challenging about using filters is the focus. So I have to focus it before you put the filter on, otherwise it just doesn't focus well through the filter. And it's always a pain because if I want to move my tripod, I gotta take the filter off, then I gotta refocus it. So I've got everything set and it's getting wet, but that's all right. So I'm just waiting and hoping that nothing moves, otherwise it could be out of focus. So I'm really starting to get some good color in the sky. So I'm gonna take another image. This time 20 seconds, still at F8. ISO 100, 2-second timer. Let's see. No need to use the shutter release yet because it's not over a 30-second exposure. But once I have to do expose for over 30 seconds, then I'll have to do the shutter release and put it on bulb mode. Always waiting. Photography's just waiting. All right. Looks pretty good. Alright, so now I bumped it down to F11. I'm still at ISO 100, and then I'm using the bulb mode now. So I'm gonna use my shutter release. I'm gonna try a 1-minute exposure because it's starting to get a lot darker. When the sun drops down, the light fades fast. And we're starting to get some nice color in the sky. I'm gonna start taking an image now. And yeah, I'll give it about 1 minute. I'm going to leave the GoPro recording because the GoPro is going to be my timer. So quite convenient. Just check it out though, it's such a beautiful scene. I dropped down the f-stop just so I could get a little bit of a longer shutter speed because I want the water silky smooth. When it was a little faster of a shutter speed, it seemed a bit rough. And all right, there's 1 minute. So let's see how it turned out. Looks pretty good to me. Now I'll stay here for probably the next 15-20 minutes doing the same thing, and then I'll head off. This right here is about as perfect as the light's gonna get in the sky with all the color and everything, so I really hope I get this exposure right. Last one I did 2 minutes 15 seconds and it wasn't enough, so this time I'm gonna try 3 minutes. Hopefully it's not overexposed. Alright, well I'm pretty happy with the image. I think it turned out alright. The light's pretty much almost gone in the sky, so I'm going to pack it on up, head back, and edit the image. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.